behind this LLM partnership, there's a fundamental shift in how we think about localization.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Slator Pod. Today on the podcast, we welcome Ben Faes, no relation. So Ben is the CEO of Language Solutions Integrated and Super Agency, RWS. Hi Ben, and thanks so much for joining.
Hi Florian, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's the first time I have a Faes on the podcast, so that's good. That's a premiere. So there's a lot to talk about today, Ben. Want to talk about, status as a public company, the Cohere announcement, Language Weaver Pro launch, repositioning over the past couple of years of RWS, software and AI, and of course, a ton more. Now, I want to start with a hard question, Ben. What are the markets and investors missing about RWS?
I don't want to fall into the trap of, I think, every CEO of a public listed company in the UK, especially at the moment. Everybody thinks their company is undervalued. So, it's not really for me to say if it's wrong or right. What I can tell you is what the market thinks. The market thinks that we are operating in a market that's disappearing. And I think you're very well placed to have an opinion on that element. I think fundamentally the market doesn't understand the role of a super agency or LSP, LSIs. The second thing, which is more linked to us, is I think we have had some disappointing times in the past where we missed on our guidance. And the market is quite cruel. If you lose their trust, it takes a lot of time to rebuild it. So I've been focusing really on that. The first guidance that I gave, we hit it. And I think fundamentally where I would say the market is wrong but that's the only way that they work, is they are pricing the past. They are pricing what they think it used to be. And the fundamental difference is it's hard to know where we're going. So I've given some optimistic, I think, but quite reasonable guidance for the future of RWS in terms of revenue growth and profitability growth. And we are really focused at that. It's something that you need to learn. You cannot spend your days watching at the stock price. There's no reason why the stock moves in one day or not. We haven't released any specific news. And so as CEO and as management team, we really need to focus on the long term and making that company great for the future.
So you're originally from outside the industry, and I want to touch on that. Now, what do you tell people that don't know the language industry about what RWS does? What's your extended elevator pitch, I guess, for the large company you're running?
It's funny you ask that, because I think I've been struggling a little bit at the beginning, at dinner tables to say, what is it that we're doing? And so it really helped for me to spend a lot of time internally and to understand what we were doing, which is quite complex and quite diverse. So the way I explain it now is we're providing technology solutions to enterprise to help them operate confidently in any market. And we do that, we help them protect their assets, their IP in any market. We help them engage, communicate with their customers confidently in any market, in any language. And we help them also understand the environment better. So I think we are a positive force to help companies expand their operations abroad.
Maybe for the people who don't know you, maybe tell them a bit more about your experience in the past. I think you were with Google, YouTube, AOL, Concentrix. Tell us a bit more about that, and also how did that prepare or not, for the role you have at RWS today?
So, not going to do my whole CV, but I did start my career at L'Oréal. In marketing, which taught me to look at the detail. When you work on the luxury product, every detail counts. And I must say I'm a bit of a maniac sometimes, a slacker for going the extra mile, making sure that every detail is right. And I moved to the more internet world in early 2000. One of my best friends was managing Netscape in Europe at the time. And he told me, your beauty creams, it's great, but there's a revolution out there, you need to join. And so I found this role at AOL, and my role was to build the whole advertising infrastructure of AOL in France. Fantastic time. 6 times after I arrived, there was the biggest internet bubble. And you reconstruct from there, and you rebuild, and you find new solutions. I joined. For the last 3 years, I was CEO of AOL in France, which also was a story of reinvention. AOL was initially an ISP, so an internet service provider in France. And we sold the ISP part, so AOL only stayed as an internet portal. But I don't know if you remember, at the time, AOL was operating in a private platform. So it wasn't on the internet, it was a private protocol. So, being an open platform when you don't even have a proper website was quite a challenge. And so we redesigned, reinvented the whole platform and launched all kinds of new services. And I was poached by Google in 2008, roughly a few months after they bought YouTube. And the mission was to launch YouTube in Europe. Launch in terms of, they had spent what seemed an enormous amount of money at the time, $1.6 billion, I remember. And there was barely any advertising on the platform. So what do you do with this? So I joined YouTube, which really took some convincing. There used to be a video platform at the time in France called Dailymotion, who was, I think, 10 times bigger than YouTube. And the first meetings I had with media agencies, I was laughed out of the room. Keep your dogs on skateboard for yourself. We are serious people here. But then again, perseverance, redesigning the product, coming up with new ad formats, and famously the skippable ads that we invented at the time. Made this platform now, I believe, the largest media company in the world in terms of revenue on audiovisual content. So I think what I really learned is that you need to keep being aware of what's going on, keep listening to what users are doing, consumers, clients, keep reinventing yourself. And I was lucky actually at Google to change job almost every 3 years. So I touch on the media side, the partnership side, and the last 5 years almost, I spent at Google Cloud, again at the early days of the cloud explosions, and trying to convince company that actually their content was much safer on the cloud than on-prem. And all this now is almost common sense, but you need to start with really strong conviction and start selling and engaging with clients. What the cloud, my cloud experience did is to understand the complexity also of the infrastructure behind to make things happen smoothly. Arguably, I had worked for almost 15 years on the ad side, and it's glitzy and it's fun to go to Cannes every year, but the hard work is also on the infrastructure that happened in the background. And I left Google in 21 after 15 beautiful years. I really wanted to have a different experience, and I joined this amazing company called WebHelp, who was the largest customer service outsourcer in Europe. And there you learn something completely different. You learn to manage people at scale. I was given my first job. I was in charge of our UK operations, so CEO of the UK division. And from day one, I had about 20,000 people to manage in the UK, in South Africa, in India. And of course, that it's in call center, but when you go and visit those places, you have to really engage and understand how to motivate everybody, how to give how to give a purpose to all those people that work so hard in your company. And that's where, you know, the culture and the purpose comes as so important. It's great when you work in company and you're paid a fortune. People stick to their job, but you know, when it's more linked to what it is that you're doing, and you know, I've met some fabulous people in all those places that really took pride in helping customers around the world, helping solve a subscription problem, helping solve a technical problem, helping solve their financial issues with their bank. So I guess that's the two sides that I'm using the most at the moment is the technology side and how to think product, how to build solutions, and also the human side, which is important and probably the most difficult one.
For those of us that are like maybe 45 plus, how would you compare Internet 96, 98 to like AI 2026? Just that'll be weird for anybody below 30 or under 30, but for the older ones, it feels a bit similar sometimes. I have friends that are like calling me like, oh my God, I just, you know, connected Claude and I have these like Mac minis here and I'm so excited. I'm like, the last time I saw this was like 97 with Dreamweaver and like spinning up a website.
There's one saying that I kept using is innovation is never going to be as slow as it is today. It's kind of a spin, yeah. When you think about it, you say, oh, what does that mean? It means that it keeps accelerating. And so today it feels that we're innovating at an incredible pace, but tomorrow is going to be even faster. And you know, I feel that we all lived through the launch of the first iPhone, the spinning your first website, as you say. Now it's been. I've learned to use. I've learned first to use AI deep research. I think back in September. Now every weekend almost I'm coding a website. Sometimes professionally, sometimes inventing a game with my son. It's something that was unable to do before. And so the democratization of a task, the ability for everybody to personally innovate is fantastic. And so I think we're wasting a little bit of the gift that we're being given, and we're spending a lot of it on mundane things. But we're an incredibly lucky generation to have access to so much intelligence and capability at scale. It started for me. It started really also. I mean, you could argue that there's a democratization of media. Everybody was its own media. That's what you're doing here. And so you didn't need to have a broadcaster to have access to millions of people. Then you have democratization of the compute, and you can rent a compute unit. So you don't need to have a big IBM supercomputer to start making amazing things. Now we have democratization of intelligence and coding. And so you know, I think we ought to think a little bit more how to best use it and how to use it in a positive way.
Let's talk about an announcement you guys made last week. That's why I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today with Cohere, a company that was on this podcast about three years ago, and has come a pretty long way since. We had Nick on the podcast like 3 years ago. So you announced that you're partnering with Cohere for Language Weaver Pro, and I'll give you the floor. Give us the highlights, background, what's Language Weaver Pro, etc.
Let me touch first on Cohere and partnership. You know, it seems very mundane these days to announce a tech partnership. I think partnership is a word that understates a little bit the relation that we've built with Cohere. We started working with the team back in July last year, when they came to us because they were about to launch a new model, Common A, and they asked us basically to test it and to help them make sure that it was a very good model. And from there started really a relation of collaboration with our research team. We have the language weaver team, and all of their researchers are based in LA. And so they work very closely with the Cohere team to understand and improve their model. And we quickly realized that they were onto something very unique, very special. And so we decided back in September to start working in a more close relationship and to help them train further the models. And we started, I think, drafting the basic of a partnership back in September. I think it took some time for us also to understand and realize, because behind this LLM partnership, there's a fundamental shift in how we think about localization in many instances. I'm yet, I don't think it's going to ever happen, but to digest the fact that this industry is based on the price per word. It's done on segment, and I think to get the best of those new capabilities in machine, you need to think much broader. The big plus of LLMs is their ability to manage much larger context window, and so to understand how they operate, to understand the message, to understand why some of those translations must happen. So we worked over the last 6 months plus, and we are now operating a model that we've fine-tuned together, that we've integrated into Language Weaver. And so we are using that model as the brain of Language Weaver, the translation product. And the tests that we've done are absolutely phenomenal. I'm amazed that we are getting to that level of quality in such a little time. And so it's not the end of the road, it's really the beginning for us. And we keep working and fine-tuning model with them. That's why I really call it a partnership. We're selling together, we're fine-tuning together, and it's a fascinating energy that it's brought also to our product team to work so closely with a frontier model like Cohere.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting partnership. I mean, we described it in the newsletter last week as like RWS gets to integrate a very powerful model that must have cost a fortune to build and train, right? That's kind of beyond the reach of, any company that's not funded to $6 billion valuation or get like $1 billion funding route. And Cohere in turn gets to deploy it across hundreds of enterprise clients that took RWS decades to secure and build and have these relationships. So that's very hard to replicate for a tech company, even if you have billions in funding.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So absolutely right. I remember back in 21 when I was at WebHelp, we were thinking, should we build our own LLM? And there was an opportunity. There was a company that came and say, if you invest $50 million, we can build a bespoke LLM, blah, blah. Thank God we didn't do it. And with Cohere, it's a bit the same, that building foundational model is not within our reach. And there are people who can do this a lot better. I'm going to admit that I was very frightened at the beginning of those discussions with Cohere. Because you wonder, am I helping them kill my business in the long term? Why? What's the reason why RWS and Cohere are partners in 5 years? It's basically the exam question. And so I had multiple conversations, especially with the CEO, Aidan Gomez. And he summarized it in a very, very simple way. Cohere is not the product. The model is really the brain that powers the model. And so that really ticked it for me. I want to have the most intelligent brain and the product team really focusing on making this the best product possible for our customers to manage their translation. And the reality is when the Cohere salespeople meet some customers that want to have a translation product, they can use their Cohere subscription, but they need our products to actually manage the actual translation. And so that you have similarity. If you take a product like I don't know, Lovable, amazing product. They didn't build the LLM that powers Lovable. So I think that's really how I've defined also the differentiation for RWS and for the product team is to focus on making the best product possible that uses the brain. And the reality is for some customers, if you want to bring your own LLM, happy for you to do so. We also think that we're using our expert, our skill set to fine tune what is the best LLM to use for that particular use case.
Give us an example of a couple of like ideal customers for Language Weaver Pro. I think historically Language Weaver is very strong in like kind of very maybe even on-prem and things like that, and defense sector and areas like this. But what's the ideal customer for that new product, the Pro product?
It's true, and it's still the case. First of all, it's a pure enterprise product, and that's also one where our minds match with Cohere. They are focusing exclusively on enterprise customer. Probably why they are less known, because you don't have a customer, a B2C interface like ChatGPT or Gemini, but it's purely enterprise. And so for enterprise, for our customers, we have a lot of on-prem deployment for Language Weaver. I think it's slightly challenging today to deploy Language Weaver Pro on-prem. It requires big GPUs to make it run properly, but we're working on it. What we've seen, there's a spectacular result, for example, for all UGC content. UGC content, think of comments that you get, think of product reviews, or customer service, customer support tickets. This content is quite hard to manage on NMT because there's a lot of misspelling, mistakes, invented word, abbreviation, and there's a lot of it. And so do you want to spend a lot of money translating this? It's kind of considered low value by most customers. Language Weaver Pro makes an incredible job at localizing those reviews, those content. And so you've probably seen many Amazon reviews that make no sense because they've been translated and the context doesn't work. The result is spectacular because you understand really the meaning. You have people getting very excited in comments and putting, yeah, that word doesn't exist. He understands the context and he will translate it by, I don't know, oui in French. And so that's quite spectacular. You probably have seen the white paper we've published. It was really hard to define the parameter of the test and how to test Cohere. And so the choice we've made is to test it on two environments or two universe, a well-known universe in the localization space, so IT and technology, which needs to be very precise. It's high volume, it's translating tech manuals, etc. And high-end marketing, which is really hard because that's it's less word, it's more meaning, and Cohere really works very well on both. So I think it means that we can raise the bar in the type of content that we can turn to machine translation only. And we can really use now more and more those models in more complex environments. So I think we've seen, we've tested that model with a lot of customers in a closed beta. And the range of customers that are interested in this model is quite amazing. Happy to say we've signed also our first customer last week, just after the announcement. So it's a good sign always.
Good sign, good sign. All right. I want to talk a bit about the new segmentation you started. I'm not sure if you're already reporting in those, in like the filings, but like you have generate, transform, and protect. You alluded to it before. So kind of what was the thinking behind, differentiating the business into these three distinct categories? And how has reception been like on just the side of the customers?
So I think, one of the two challenges. One is RWS has grown a lot by external acquisition, the most famous of which is RWS combining with SDL. And the reality is a lot of the operations below were a bit still kept as ex-SDL, ex-RWS, even ex-Moravia. And that's not great to really create a united culture within the group, and also to leverage the scale that we have. There's no need to be a super agency if you're just a succession of local agency. I'm exaggerating. So that's the first thing, is how do you really get the power of the scale that you've built? And the second thing is investors struggle to understand what we were doing and why we were organized the same way. Life science was doing also localization, but for different type of clients. Is that really the reason why we should separate this way? So I've separated into generate, which is helping customers generate better content, either through our publishing tools or through our data services, which is understanding better the world and organizing your data so you can use LLM to create content. Transform, and it's transform rather than localize or translate, because as you know, a lot of the work we can do is transforming from English to English. So you're transforming from a specific audience for a specific context. And then protect, which is our kind of very specific IP services work. And all those three segments actually generally call to a different buyer persona. So we talk to different buyers. We organize the sales team differently. The sales skills are different. So right now it makes a lot more sense to be organized this way. What I must say is probably the biggest change or pivot is actually in the transform. And even though it looks like it's the historic activity of RWS, that's where we brought together really under the same management all of the legacy organization, and we merged together technology and service. Because I think the way we position it, the strengths that RWS is bringing is the ability to deliver tech solutions and the access to service if you need it or if you want it.
So maybe let's start with, I want to talk a bit about the generate part and the data for AI business. We just published a major piece of research. You should check it out. It's like 160 pages.
I did. Probably, very good research. Well done.
It's a good one. What are your thoughts generally on this business, the longevity of it, the growth opportunities? We see it as being a very attractive area. And you have Train AI, that business that sits under Generate, as you said. Yeah, generally your thoughts on that business.
I wasn't sure when I joined. Because you look at it and you say, okay, it's data services, data annotation. What's the future? Is it gonna will LLM need this? Reality is that it's market that's growing very fast. So
that's what we saw.
Not only they still need it, but they need it more than before. And we fall often in the trap that we only look in the past. Annotating the internet, okay, that was hard work, but it's done. The work that we're doing is more and more complex. I'm not even talking complex in terms of having coders and mathematicians and scientists to help train the model further, but more complex in terms of what AI needs to understand to feel more human. And there's the whole development of the world models, where understanding the context and the world around you and the visuals and the audio, arguably they're lacking a lot more senses than us humans. So how do you translate or codify those senses? How do you translate the 3D environment that they operate, and how do you translate the culture in which they operate? The example I like to use is, it's not a stretch of the imagination to think that in a few years we might all have some robots at home. It'd be great if the robots understand the home, understand where to move, understand what is what, understand who you are, and talks to you in the way that you like to have this dude in your house, that is not patronizing you, that's behaving, that's polite, that knows good manners at the table, all that kind of stuff. Seems to be a little bit light, but that's the only reason why we will accept AI in the future. And there's some rejection of AI that you feel at the moment because it sounds too mechanical, because it sounds always the same. And so we're really, the need to give it more depth, to give it more refinement, I think is really important and is really hard. So those services will continue to expand very fast, I think.
That report, was a bit of an eye-opener for me as well, like just understanding the complexity and the different angles and the role of human experts in this process. And yeah, that if you're a company as large as RWS, it kind of lends itself to be in that business, and you have for some time. Let's talk about Protect. I think smaller in terms of revenue, but IP services you still say is like resilient, strategically valuable.
So sorry,
Sure.
I just wanted to add one point is that, I think we're very excited about building what we call the cultural intelligence layer. And one thing you realize very quickly is that culture is not set in stone. It's changing every day with what's happening in the world, with entertainment, with the news. The share of search queries on Google that have never been done before, every day, I think half of the search query that Google gets, they've never seen it before. It's all new things that fill our mind. And so I think it's an endless process to keep understanding our world. We humans haven't understood it in thousands of years. So, we're not going to codify it in just a few years, I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But people don't appreciate what this data business is at this point in time. It's not labeling. It's not this is cat, this is dog, this is football.
This used to be that. I think there was a bit of that in the past, but no, that's not.
No, that's not what's happening. And there's a ton of energy going into this, a ton of business going into this, and these big AI labs, they don't want to hire all of these people. They don't want to manage all of these people. They don't want to pay these people, right? So yeah, Protect. I want to talk about, because to me, it's always been the part of the business that I understood kind of least, because I'm not naturally like coming from that space, the IP space. So why hold on to it? Why is it, resilient? Why is it valuable to the company?
So what we're doing with IP, we work with inventors, and we help them patent their invention, basically. To do this, it's really a full service. You need to work with the inventor to draft. So first, is the invention patentable? And so you have to do a lot of research, understand whether it's been done before, there's a patent that's similar. You have to draft the patent in such a way that it's defensible legally. Then you have to file the patent, you have to translate it and file it in as many jurisdictions as you want. And the fun doesn't stop there. Then you have to renew your patent every year. And if you get bought by a company, you have to record that patent to the new owners. So it's a whole service and life cycle. It's complex, very administrative. There's an element of translation, but there's a lot of project management and advising and research to make it right. It's a market that's growing by itself, so there's more and more patents filed, and it's the value that it represents to the patent owner is huge. Really And you have companies that are highly focused on filing as many patents as possible. So for us, it's amazing because it gets us close to the innovator, gets us a pulse of where the innovation is coming from. At the moment, I'll tell you, one of our most successful markets is coming from APAC and China in particular. You know, the level of patent that they're filing is just extraordinary. And it's a market where RWS has created new services recently. So we've diversified. We used to do only filing and translation. We now do the full life cycle of patent. So yeah, it's a great business actually.
Yeah, China, right? I was going to ask you about this, but you just mentioned it. Probably a big and growing part on the IP side there. So RWS has a ton of software businesses, and we spoke about one of them, Language Weaver, but arguably the one that's still most well known is Trados and the family of products there. Like, what's the latest there? Give us an update on Trados.
We've been investing a lot over the last almost a year now in the new generation of Trados. So, you know, we've kept innovating on Trados, and every year you've received an upgrade. We've introduced a lot of AI component on Trados last year with some AI assistant to help you do your work faster. Since Christina Scott joined as our CTO, I think we're rethinking the product also to make it faster, more relevant, more integratable with the rest of the technology stack. More flexible also and agile to use components or to build components on top. So I think we've shared a little bit, but we are building the next platform of Trados at the moment. Hope to be able to launch it publicly this year. We already have some closed beta running. It's been fantastic to rethink a product or rethink a workflow management tool in the new world. And so what we've decided to do is to start from scratch almost. So use our expertise, some of the components, but start from scratch on how customers really want to manage their content and their content transformation in the world of AI. So I can't tell you much more now, but it's a product on which we've significantly increased our R&D, our investment. I know there's been talk about, is it the end of the TMS? I don't know what TMS, how you define TMS in tomorrow's world. I really know that a large company have a massive problem of managing content at scale. And we've published a study these days about the content in the age of AI. One of the stats that we've seen is that AI is making content management a lot harder. I don't know if you've seen that stat, but from the 200 content management office that we've talked to across customers, they say that roughly they waste 20% of their localization budget because of AI content or Gen AI. So they don't translate the right content, or it's bad at the source, so it's bad at the end. And so the need to manage content and verify, inspect, test your content in as many languages as you want is just going to increase.
Yeah, maybe people who say TMS is dead. I mean, we're not using the term TMS anymore, LTP, but like it's generally that functionality that it's that like they maybe don't appreciate the scale and size of content operations of big companies. Like, sure, if you're a 30-person agency, maybe you can build something in-house and it'll work, right, for a few websites. But if you're like a 50,000 people company, maybe not so easy.
Let's say you're manufacturing phone. You launch a new phone. How do you make sure that people get to the right FAQ, that the comments are linked to the right thing, that the tech support links to the right version of your phone, etc. I mean, it's incredibly complex. And so when you sit with content managers of a large tech company, almost you don't want to have their job. It's just it's endless how much difficulty they have to manage every day.
And that's where you're helping, I guess. So I know you can't share too much about financials. I still want to talk a little bit about financials because, you know, you have to disclose this public company. I understand that there's some, you know, restrictions, obviously, what you can and cannot say. But like, I think last year revenue and adjusted profits were down, but you now guided to low single-digit growth for full year 2026. So, you know, tell us a bit more about like what milestones will tell you that the strategy is working, that you're on track to hit the guidance.
The flip side to this is we're probably the most public company in the industry. So you can look at all of our financial or result, and every 6 months we have to publish audited results. So, you know, in a way, we're very transparent. We cannot be transparent out of those timelines, but we're very transparent. What I've shared in our end of year result is both the guidance in terms of revenue and profit, but also the KPIs, the indicators that we are really focusing on to prove that our strategy is working. So we will be publishing our mid-year results towards the end of April. So you'll have the first 6 months of operations, and we'll publish both, you know, financial result, but also how our KPI are evolving. I think it's going to be an interesting read.
All right, we'll make sure we'll analyze it and share with the viewers and listeners.
The one thing I'd like to say, Florian, though, is we're all in this together. And I think when I talk to some of my fellow CEOs of other large company, you know, we're all facing the same challenges. We're facing a challenge where we have to shift how we deliver our services. Our customers want to rely more on technology first, but they want some human review, and they're willing to pay less for review than for a translation. So that seems logical, but for you it means that you have to change completely your process, your workflows, otherwise you're not efficient enough. We have to adjust the shift to technology, and so we've had some very large renewal recently where people have shifted a big part of the service revenue to technology revenue. And so the how you read the evolution of the revenue is not easy. We're investing also in some new markets, so media and entertainment, AI dubbing. There's some markets that are growing still very fast. So, you know, we all have to manage, I think, the complexity and how fast the industry is changing. So happy to be the ones publishing the result every 6 months. I think I would like to think we're a bit of the pulse.
You're a bit of a proxy, absolutely. Yeah. Can we briefly talk about AI dubbing? What are your thoughts on YouTube kind of incrementally making it better, the default version? Like recently I got caught. I think I didn't notice it was AI dubbed for about 10 seconds. It was a football game. Yeah, because you log in, and because it kind of flags me as a German speaker, even though my OS is in English, etc. Like it just started the AI dubbed version, and it took me about 10 seconds. I'm like, this is a weird commentary, but it kind of sounded humanish because it had the emotional component, right? Like as an ex-YouTuber, like what do you think about this? Like, are they just gonna continue to like make this, like spend tons and tons of investment on making it better and lifelike, or is it just gonna be a nice to have feature for them?
I think it's a strategic feature for YouTube, and they've done that in the past with subtitling. It's the mission is really to make it the best platform to broadcast your content, and part of it, it's interesting that they're spending so much effort and money on this. for the content to travel faster, to travel further, for stories to be heard everywhere, dubbing is very important. There's many people that don't really engage with subtitle, and so the product that they're building on dubbing is phenomenal. I think it calls for a certain part of the type of content, and it doesn't work for a lot of other content. It's you know, there's so many categories I've discovered since we really invested in AI dubbing, but there's so many categories of content, from live or semi-live dubbing to reality TV to UGC to professional Hollywood type of content to semi-professional, so second tier series that are developed in a smaller market but want to travel. There's a whole range of type of content. I think that there needs to be various solutions for that, but the out of the box solution from YouTube is very impressive.
Pretty impressive, yeah. Closing on your, I don't know, assessment of the current situation, the current state of the market, macro, and 2026. Like, what's your prediction for where this is going for the rest of the year?
The whole market?
Just generally, like macro take. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty here. We don't know what's happening in the Middle East, etc. But just generally, what are you seeing? What are you seeing currently?
I can tell you maybe because I spend a lot of time with investors. I see a level of not fear, but indecision like I've never seen before. You know, it's the Middle East, the oil price, of course, but you know, they thought some were betting against service for technology, and now since Cloud Cohere launched in January, they don't know if SaaS is a good example. So they're kind of lost on what you invest in, and I personally think that's temporary. And it's understating or underestimating the resilience of certain company. So I think I would bet more on the culture, on the behavior than on what we do day to day. I think today we have about 5 to 10% of our revenue that comes from services type of work that didn't exist a year ago. And that's really what's important for us as a company, but generally as an industry, is to continue to evolve, to respond, to adapt to where the world is going. The world's going to feel different, but you know, we still need to have a lot of services deployed and technology deployed. So I know that it feels quite uncomfortable at the moment, and we're spending a lot of time trying to understand, adjust. I'm still very optimistic for the future.
All right, Ben, thank you so much. That was a fascinating conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Florian.